Gosh, it seems like I was just here. Yeah. First, good morning again. You know, I just feel so nervous and happy to be up here, and I really feel such a warm spirit with each and every one of you as I look in your faces. Wow, what a family we have, huh? Thank you. Thank you, Leslie, for a beautiful prayer. Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for humoring me, and thank you. So, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, right? I'm not sure if you realize, but next Sunday is Christmas, right? Oh. And the following Sunday is January 1st, God's Day, New Year's, 2017. And didn't it go by quickly? Yeah, it just sort of flew by. And I'm not sure it's because I'm an old guy and the time just goes by way too fast. And some of you, I know most of you are very young, but the ones that are catching a few years, you know how time just seems to go screaming by, and we try to grab it and slop it and stop it and keep it from going, but it doesn't. It just keeps going. So the year went by very quickly, for me, and but I really enjoy this time of year. You know, it's a very special time of year. You know, the holidays, which many times brings families much closer together. If you have families out of town, they come in to visit sometimes and different things. And so I love the Christmas spirit. I love the Christmas tree. I love Christmas music. And I love the Christmas jokes. You know, I went through this morning and I was reading off. I had a big page of jokes, and Mike said, no, yep, okay, maybe. So I saw a guy driving down Las Vegas Boulevard, right? And he had a tree on his bumper. So I asked him, hey, you getting ready for Christmas? He goes, no, just teaching the wife how to drive. I used to tell my kids that Santa is fat because he eats the children who get up too early on Christmas morning. That way I got to sleep in, you know. I'm not sure if they ever believed it, but my wife and I, dear, thank you, we went out Christmas shopping the other day, and Claudelina suddenly noticed that I wasn't anywhere to be found, so she called me on my cell phone. She says, where are you? You know we've got so much to do. Where'd you go? I says, darling, do you remember that jeweler's that was about 10 years ago? We went into that store, that jewelry store, and they had that beautiful diamond necklace that you loved so much, but it was so expensive. I couldn't afford it, you know, back at that time, you know. I couldn't, you know, but you remember that store, right? She goes, a couple tears are coming down, right? And she said, oh, yes, I remember that shop. I says, well, I'm at the guitar store right next to it. Sorry, dear. Maybe next year. But I'm not going to talk about Christmas today. You know, it is Jesus' birthday, and I'm sure next week Reverend Dew is going to really cover Christmas and the meaning and things like that. So today's sermon is Row the Boat. And, you know, it has a lot of significance, and I'm going to get into that later on because it's really very important about rowing the boat. But you may be aware, that this month's sermon theme is reflect, revive, and recommit. And so as 2016 comes to a close, we should contemplate what have we accomplished this year, right? What have we accomplished for God? What have we accomplished for two parents? For helping to build the kingdom, God's kingdom here in Las Vegas? Have we come closer to God, period? And I do realize that we have many endeavors here. You know, did I lose that 20 pounds I should have? Did I start my exercise routine? No. For you young people, did I get straight A's, in school? So we have many things. However, today I'd like to focus more on building God's kingdom. And really, we're going to talk about Vision 2020. Do all of you know what Vision 2020 is? I kind of sort of know, so I encapsulated it into just a few words, and it's also the purpose of our movement. It's to create one family under God and build Channel Guk through tribal messiahship and creating blessed families. Then joining with our other groups and affiliations, UPF, ACLC, Women's Federation for World Peace, and all these groups, then joining in with those to really create God's kingdom. And that's the plan. That's what we're heading for in Vision 2020. So I know many of you did some really fine projects this year. I know that many did some great things. And you should be proud of your accomplishments. However, if you were like me, you may have to ask yourself, what did I really do this year? Did I fulfill my goals, my expectations, or maybe even my promises? And as we now prepare for another year, we need to take a close look at ourselves to determine what we did and what we didn't do, and so we can make 2017 a more fruitful year, a better place for all of us. Does everybody know the meaning of insanity? Yes. It's doing the same thing over and over and over, but expecting different results. And it isn't amazing how much we do that. I know I do all the time. I do it over and over, and I'm expecting it to be different and better, but somehow it doesn't change. It's the same thing over and over. And we really need to change, to look at ourselves to determine what it is we need to change. So this verse, I'm not sure if it's really the most appropriate verse, but it's the one I found, the one that kind of struck, and so it's the one, our verse for the day. And the Apostle Paul informs us in 1 Corinthians 13:12, "For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know fully, even as I am also known." So discovery is very important to fulfill our potential as a child of God. If we just sort of chaotically move on in life, we may not get down that road. So it has to be thought about. We have to discover ourselves and really hone in our skills, to improve each and every year to come closer to God. God's ideal for us, Jesus says, be perfect. I don't know if I'll ever make that, but, that's what the goal, sort of. And but we have to ask, what is the first thing you do when you get up in the morning, right? Whatever it may be, is probably the same thing every day, right? I know Hundake, but besides that, we all seem to have our special routine, right? When you get up in the morning, maybe you jump in and have a cup of coffee right away, or maybe you make your bed as soon as you get up. Maybe you jump right into the shower, or others have to brush their teeth before they do another thing in the day. And some start their ritual the night before, right? And they lay out their clothes, and they put water and coffee in the coffee maker, and get prepared so the next day is perfect. Lay out their clothes again. But some part of everyone's morning ritual is coming face to face with the mirror. Right? Most of us probably get our first glance at ourselves while we are still looking pretty scary. Our eyes have that bleary, dazed look. Our hair is sticking out in strange places. Facing our mirrors the first thing in the morning is not always that pleasant of an experience. Mirrors are very honest little things, aren't they? They do not compromise. Real mirrors do not lie. They do not gloss over our defects and tell us we are better looking than we really are. They show us every wrinkle, every gray hair. In fact, the better the mirror, the more flaws we see. Anybody have one of those magnifying mirrors? Did you ever look in one of those? It is really scary. I don't know. So why do we have mirrors in our bathrooms, right? Because as unpleasant as it may be to look at ourselves and confront ourselves in the morning, we know that if we not look at ourselves and make some minor, or in my case, major adjustments, the rest of the world is going to see that morning face. It's better to face the truth and make the changes so that we are somewhat presentable to the rest of the world. If we are going to be all that God wants us to be, then we must have a clear vision of who we are, a clear vision of what needs to change in our life. As I thought about the passage again, I began to realize that all of us look at life in slightly different ways. We all look at life through different mirrors. Of course, there are mirrors that do not give us an accurate picture of what we look like, distorted, different things. And what image do you see when you look in the mirror? Who is that person in the reflection? We see ourselves differently because we are seeing a reflection of who we think we are. Not exactly the reflection. As we look, how do we see ourselves? And we see ourselves a certain way, and that's how we think, and that's how we really perceive our way to be. But where is that reflection coming from? What kind of mirror are you looking into? So if you remember our reading today from Corinthians, for now we see in a mirror dimly, and then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, but then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. None of us can see ourselves as clearly as we should, but there are some people who do not see much at all. Some people look at themselves, at their image, as though they're looking to a very tiny mirror. Have you ever seen those tiny mirrors? I think every woman has one in her purse, right? They're just a little tiny thing. And as you look through that little tiny mirror, you can kind of flick it around and, oh, it looks okay. And as you do that, you kind of fix a little something here and a little something there. You cover up something here and you cover up something there. And if you can't fix it and you can't cover it up, you just move the mirror away, right? So you don't have to look at it anymore, right? But if we're honest, that image that we think we're covering up or ignoring is seen not only by God, but by those around us. Sometimes we think we're hiding something very well, but others see it so very clearly. It's not that we can't get a bigger or better mirror. It's just that we have become comfortable with the way we perceive ourselves, or should I say, want to perceive ourselves. Maybe we have even convinced ourselves that if we ignore it long enough, it'll go away, right? I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. There are things in our lives that we would like to hide, though. Maybe it's those very things that we're hiding from or refuse to change that in time become the very thing that holds us back from accomplishing our dreams, our goals, and moreover, our responsibilities. These are the things that will keep us from becoming God's true sons and daughters. So in order to embrace the new, we must release the old. A trapeze artist cannot swing from one bar to another without letting go. An important part of preparing for the new year is to review the past year, review what you've done, but then let it go, release it, learn from it. So as it's time again to kind of look at ourselves, to kind of think of where we've been and how we can improve, we need to reflect. But sometimes that's not easy. So I put down some questions and things that can help us I hope that you take time to really ponder this as we move into the next year. First of all, you can talk with people you care about. Write out your thoughts and your feelings. You can consider writing a letter, an end-of-the-year epistle to yourself. It could be a profound letter that you write that when you read it, it will be amazing, but also in the years ahead. Reflect on what you did, how you felt, what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you learned. Try to look at yourself and your experience with as much objectivity as you can. Here are some suggestions now to get you through this, because you have to think, what did I learn this past year? What did I accomplish this last year? What should I have done differently, and why? What did I complete? Did I complete all things I wanted to do? Don't ask my wife that, because she'll tell you that I didn't. Right, Claudelina? I'm very good at starting projects. I have good intentions, and I start the projects and, buy all the things. I go to Home Depot or wherever it is I'm supposed to go, and I get all the things, and I get them out there. And then, of course, now it's time for eating or dinner or something like that. And then it's time we do something else. And then I put everything away, and there they stay away. And those things just don't get finished. Yeah. What still feels incomplete to me? What are the most significant events of the year past? What did I do right? I do some things right. Right? What do I feel especially good about? And what was my greatest contribution? What were the biggest challenges, the biggest roadblocks, the biggest difficulties? How am I different this year than last year? Which is really the test. What they say, result is what's important. So we can look at ourselves and think about where we were and how we are now. Sometimes the reflection is often difficult because we simply can't remember what happened over a long period of time. So we should try to recall some of the year's events by starting at New Year's. I have trouble remembering yesterday, so if you start with an event, start at New Year's a year ago and think about what was I doing? Who was I with? What did we do? And what was I hoping for at that time? What challenges were before you? Maybe you had something going on in your life. So you think about the challenges, what was going on in the lives of the people that are close to you. Then we slowly move forward month by month. And markers like birthdays, anniversaries, vacations, holidays, they're all prompters of what other things that are going on. So you think about those, and simple questions bring greater recall. So what was going on and what was important? And this can kind of jar your memory as you go month to month to think about what you did and what you need to do and how you can improve and what you can hone in for the coming year. So through a reflection, we need to determine what we will change. And what's next? The second part, which is revive and recommit for the coming year. We have to keep in mind that we didn't join a happy church. You know what I mean? A place just to hang out and socialize. It is a happy church, and it is fun to socialize. However, we joined a church that is not only dedicated to bringing us a renewed spiritual life, but it's also dedicated to bring that spiritual life into the whole world, to alleviate God's broken heart and to establish God's family and kingdom here on this earth, here in Las Vegas, through our two parents. A Jew? So reflection is a prerequisite to revival and this recommitment. When I looked up the word revival, it really had many, many explanations and synonyms, and pretty soon I was getting kind of weighed down and overwhelmed by what to really say. But I think what really is good is to think about how to refocus. So as revive, think about as a refocus of where we want to go, where we want to be, what we want to do. And what are we doing here in the first place? And what is it I need to do to fulfill these things? So, there's many endeavors that we do. And so if, for instance, if we want a better music offerings, then we need to maybe practice a little bit more, maybe have a few more people, maybe learn some new songs, right? And that way we can improve. So we have to think of where we want to be and then think of the things that will help us to get there. So whatever it is, tribal messiahship, coming together, clubs, programs, meeting people, whatever that is that you want to do this next year, what can you do? What can we do? What can I think of to really get to that point? After that comes the recommitment. And this is where we determine how important is this. We know we need to do it, but how important is it to me, my family, my church, and my world? After we determine that, then we can make that recommitment. And it'll determine the level of our recommitment. I really liked Reverend Compton's analogies last week on faith, responsibility, and determination. I especially like the car 11. How determined are we to get to where we need to go? For those that you miss car 11 is 11 because you're walking, so maybe it's an uncomfortable walk to get to where you need to end up. But, it's easy to jump in the car and get there. But if you have to walk and maybe through difficulties, how determined are you to get to that place? Also about turning the boat around, right? What are we willing to do? So, speaking of the boat, Speaking of the boat. Somebody, does this work? Oh, there's the boat again. Speaking of the boat, so you remember our sermon title today, Row the Boat. And you must be wondering what all of that's about, right? Well, I'm going to tell you. You knew that. I really dislike comparing religious endeavors with my workplace, as they seem to be so secular in my line of business, and they are truly secular. However, sometimes there's a few things which seem to make sense. So I'm going to share with you a few things that I think is important for us to move forward in this coming new year, to help us all accomplish our goals and responsibilities. So our general manager, he's a sports fanatic, and many of his motivational sales techniques are relating to sports, one way or the other. First, he talks about reflection. Reflection is very important. And if you take a football team, a baseball team, a hockey team, any kind of a team, after every single game, after every single practice, they look at what they did. They scrutinize every move. They watch movies of what they did so they can improve. Without reflection, you can't improve. Without looking at what you did, you don't know how you can get better. So it's really important as we look back on this year, it's very important that we do that. You have to think, what could I have done better to get better results? Also, we are not alone in our dreams and our goals. We're really in this together, right? We all have come to this church for similar reasons, and we want to accomplish similar things. Which brings us to, again, my boss is a real sports fanatic. This is one of the walls in our conference room. That's a whole wall. That's the ceiling up there, right? A big desk here. I mean, it's huge. And it's not an advertisement, by the way. Honest. One team, one dream. Aren't we one team here? Aren't we a team? Yeah. And don't we really have one dream? Of course, we all have things that we'd like to do. I'd like to be in a big rock concert band and we all have our dreams and things that are important to us, and that's fine. We need to pursue those as well. But in our church, we have a dream and a vision. And then as we should think of that kind of a spirit, we are one team. We are a team. We're together. All of us are working together. But this is a whole wall. As you can see, that's a light socket down there. This is a whole wall. Those are real oars. My boss is really into this. It's about row the boat. And there's some sports fanatics in here probably that you know about the team Michigan, Western Michigan college team. They haven't done so well over many years. Michigan used to be a thriving metropolis because the car industry was there. And however, as the car industry got more difficult and things happened, their town sort of fell apart, and it's really kind of a tough area now. But the coach really wanted to bring back this college team, and he actually, his son died of a heart problem when he was really young, like just a couple years old. They knew that was going to happen, but he came up with this row the boat. Row the boat, to keep on going. Keep moving forward. But this can also apply to us in the goal and the vision of 2020. Row the boat is a 3-part mantra, meaning never give up. Oars are the first part of the metaphor, which represent the energy a person brings to those around them. This includes the energy positively affecting their spiritual life, their family, their church, etc. Choosing to have the oar in the water shows that that person is moving forward with their life. And having it out of the water means they're not going anywhere. They're not moving forward. They're not changing. They're staying in the same spot. Well, this can apply to us and what we're willing to do to fulfill our responsibilities. The second piece of the mantra is the boat itself. The boat actually signifies the sacrifices that were made. It's the ship. It's what we're willing to do to achieve the goal. It can represent our church. It can actually represent God's providence and the sacrifices that were made in God's providence. Going back to the very beginning, God always had plan A, plan B, because he knew us. But there's so many saints, sages, Jesus Christ, and many who, Father, have come before us to help build God's providence, to get the boat that we're all in. We're in the boat. All of us are in this boat. And finally, the compass signifies the direction of this group, set by the leader, God, true parents, and true mother, who's given us a target, given us a place to get to. So when you literally talk about rowing the boat, you're facing the opposite direction. You don't see where you're going, right? You don't really know what's in front of you. You're just rowing, and you keep rowing, and you just see what's going on. You see where you're going only through what's behind you. And you're learning from what's behind you. So through that, you set sail from point A to point B. But rowing the boat conveys that the team is working together trying to achieve a common goal. We're making it a global and community-based. Everyone can relate to this. The boat is in a direction and we're rowing. We can't see the future, but we can see our past. Our past is the programs, it's the people. That's what we're looking at, where we're learning as we go. We don't know if there's a waterfall ahead. We don't know if there's smooth sailing, smooth seas, sunset. We have no idea what's in front of us, right? We don't. But we just have to keep rowing. This is the important part. We all need to row. Everyone needs to row this boat. And I'll tell you why. Has anybody ever rowed a boat? Okay, if you've rowed a boat, you know, and depending on how big the boat is, small one, big one, there's 2 oars, right? And if you had a big boat and you had several people on each side and you're rowing that boat, everybody's rowing this boat. But you know what? If a couple people don't row the boat, what happens? The boat goes around in a circle, right? Yeah, it gets nowhere. It takes everybody to row the boat. It takes everybody to really help God, to really help our true parents establish God's kingdom here on this earth. It's really up to us. So, again, we all have our talents. We all have the things we can do. We all need to really support each other. We really have to. And I think over the last few years, we've really come a long way. I feel that. I can feel even in this room right now a deeper love and spiritual atmosphere, people really coming together. But as we go forward in the next year, how important that'll be. So next time, could you get one with just one button on it, please? So, yeah, our father on May 2nd, 2012, which, as you know, was up around before leaving us. At a Hundake, Mrs. McDivitt read Father's speech from the sermons. And after reading, Father said, "When you listen to my speech, you think the words are good, but actually they're scary. Can we, who are going this scary path, fight against each other? We should help each other. We unificationists have only one place to go, not 2. So, again, I really hope everyone can take time to reflect on this last year. And again, it doesn't have to be all about what we did for church, because, you know, there's other things in our lives going on. But reflection is good. Reflection is how we move forward. Reflection is how we get better. Reflection is how we really become that true son and daughter of God and fulfilling all that we can be as that true son and daughter. So thank you very much, and let's pray.